earlier this year, there were a whole bunch of fires in Southern California.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they
They were destructive.
destroyed. Yeah, they destroyed like Pacific Palisades, and then there was the Eaton fire, which didn't get as much coverage, I don't think. But if you're a local and if you're anything like me, you don't know anybody that lives in Pacific Palisades. Well, actually, I do, but you probably don't know somebody that lives in Pacific Palisades because it's hoity-toity. But you probably knew somebody that was affected by the Eaton fire because that was more Pasadena, more
Hmm.
livable, like, affordable area.
Attainable.
Yeah, and I was talking with someone the other day that wandered to my house, an AT&T salesman of all people, and the Eaton fire came up in conversation, and then that turned to EVs. Bizarrely. Yeah. So I'll get into that in a minute. I'm Phil Royle. I am one of the co-hosts here on the podcast and the blog, although I don't really do much for the blog. That just sits at thewhatcar.com and rusts generally. So you can go there. There's a lot of articles though. We have an article on that on the blog that is comparing the old Model 3 to the old Kia Niro. Was that what it was?
Yeah, is that still one of our top
It's
performers?
still like I got a notification of like your top movers, and this month was like up whatever percentage as well. Like I don't know what the deal is with that article.
That's over
Anyway,
5 years old.
yes, it's like it's one of our top performers.
We need to
Totally,
do we need to do a reprise of that
we
somewhere.
do. I what am I going to promote? I don't know. Nothing else. I've just been around doing this thing. You go, and then I'll get back to my story about AT&T, the Eaton Fire,
Okay.
and EVs.
Ed Sanchez, 4+ years of being a podcaster. Um, Current day job, automotive electronics industry analyst, and the Walk Car co-founder and contributor,
He
and fashion model,
and fashion model of your Charge Baby Charge hat, which you cannot buy at
collector's item.
thewhatcar.com. You can't buy that at thewhatcar.com/store. It is not
I'll
for sale
sell
there.
I'll sell it to the highest bidder.
And maybe even sign it. Why not?
Maybe
Yeah. Okay. Oh, youtube.com/
at the
at
Walk Car.
at the walk car. Leave a comment, bid on Ed's hat. So this AT&T salesman has not always been selling AT&T stuff. During the Eaton fire, I guess he got hired doing what do they call it? Remediation, like basically coming in and just getting rid of all of the horrible destruction. So carting off.
Oh, so like a company like Serve Pro or something similar.
I know nothing about this.
Okay.
But he was hired to come
Restoration and
in.
cleanup. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was on the team that took care of the EVs. And
Oh.
all the EVs that burned, not because they're
Hmm.
EVs, but
Hmm.
because the city burned to the ground and EVs were in there. And
Hmm.
so they had to go in and unbolt all the battery packs from
Okay.
all of the EVs and then dispose of the batteries separate from the rest of the car. So they were part of that disassembly process.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he had nothing good to say about the assembly of current EVs. Absolutely nothing. He said we got all now they're trying to churn and burn. They're trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get it knocked out as fast as they can. He said the ability to get the battery packs out of most of these cars showed that the batteries are not really intended to be serviceable
No.
and that he was saying that he personally, after doing what he did, would not buy an EV right now for the long haul, where it might
Hmm.
lead to a battery replacement due to
Hmm.
just simply how destructive this process was. Now, I
Hmm.
know there's Teslas and they get their battery packs replaced, and I know that this exists.
Hmm.
But when people stop supporting that, when a Tesla is 20 years old, 30 years
Hmm.
old,
Hmm.
they may not be supporting that necessarily down the road or whatever it is, or if you get into an
Hmm.
accident and
Hmm.
Tesla doesn't want to touch it, or Audi or
Hmm.
whoever
Hmm.
your EV is. It was like a bizarre tangent that we went down,
Hmm.
and I didn't mention the podcast. I'm really horrible at promoting this thing. But there you go. He was basically saying
Not a fan.
not a
Of
fan
EVs,
because of
the
not
way
because
they're
of anything, but
constructed.
because of the construction and the
Yeah.
serviceability of the battery packs.
Well, I mean, but to play devil's advocate, I mean, they're effectively designed for a service life of 150,000 miles, which for the most part coincides with the engineered service life of most vehicles. So they're not really designed to be replaced because actuarially that's like the exception to the rule. Like, yes, battery packs get replaced. It happens under warranty or what
Mhm.
for whatever reason, but they're not supposed to. It's basically, and it's arguably becoming worse because you're starting to see them basically becoming part of the frame almost,
Yeah,
where they're
they're
calling the
structural. Yep.
structural battery pack. Yeah. So basically, like the newer Teslas, the newer Model Ys, you have a front subframe, a rear subframe. They basically bolt to the battery pack, and then the body goes on top of that. So you take the pack out, the whole car just kind of, you know.
Well, and so the 150,000 mile thing,
Mm-hmm,
they'll need to revisit that. If that's what it is. That's
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I wasn't aware of that. Because I've got three street cars.
mm-hmm,
One's got 160,000 miles, one's got 200,000 miles, and one has 125,000 miles, something like that.
mm-hmm,
The thing that always leads to the end of life for any vehicles that I've had cars that have taken over 300,000 miles.
mm-hmm,
What leads to end of life
mm-hmm.
on vehicles, if you take care of them, you just
Lack
do
of
general
maintenance.
maintenance. Well, if
Yeah,
you do general maintenance, whatever,
yeah.
eventually the rings start to go, and then you'll
Refill
get
emissions.
blow
Yeah.
by, and then that goes, you get oil into your cats, you start burning up your cats. It shows as the O2's have got a problem. You replace the O2's, it's really cats, you replace the cats. What it really is blow by on your cylinders that is shooting oil in, and you're just burning everything up. So the answer is, once you get over 200,000 miles, if your oxygen sensor comes on an ICE vehicle, replace the engine and the oxygen sensors and the catalytic
Mm-hmm,
converter.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's you've
Yeah.
gone down this whole jumbled mess. So, like my last car that went to 315,000 miles, that was eating up cats like nobody's business, and I could
Mm-hmm.
replace a cat and I could get going a little bit, but like 10,000 miles later, it just burned that thing up.
And it
But
gets to a point financially. I mean,
yeah,
catalytic converters are not cheap, and some I don't know how it was on that particular car. Some have like two or three of them.
yeah.
So full replacement, you're talking like thousands of dollars.
But
And
what
in a lot
has
of cases, the car itself isn't even worth that.
the item that's failed though on every
Yeah.
car that I've had, that my Jeep Cherokee that I had,
Mm-hmm,
that I
mm-hmm,
love that thing, that one just
mm-hmm,
went over like 200,000 miles. Catalytic converter, which means the engine's going. On all my vehicles where I've ended up getting rid of them,
mm-hmm,
it's been based on the engine failing, not the car's worn out.
mm-hmm,
It's if I replaced the engine, if it was financially worthwhile to replace the engine,
mm-hmm,
then that's what I would have done. But it never was. It was always cheaper to just go and buy another car because you've got
mm-hmm,
thousands into the cat, thousands into the engine, or you just
mm-hmm.
buy
Or a
another car.
replacement engine's like $4,000 or $5,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not financially wise to replace all of this stuff. But the
Mm-hmm,
point is, in EVs, you don't have that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, the
The
motor will keep going almost indefinitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the batteries are now becoming that
It's a
weak point,
serviceable item. Yeah.
and they should be serviceable because if I chose
Yeah.
to, I could replace an engine. It is serviceable. It's expensive, but
Mm-hmm,
it's doable. If the
mm-hmm,
engines become these like integral part of the vehicle and completely non-serviceable, like our cell phones, we're
mm-hmm,
throwing
mm-hmm,
away
mm-hmm,
$50,000, $70,000 worth of car, plus
mm-hmm,
all the environmental impact of that, of the
mm-hmm,
creation of it, of the use of it, and then
mm-hmm.
of the throwing away of this item, that it seems like we need to do better. And we need to make these things
So, I mean, what
serviceable
would your
for 500,000 miles.
what would your proposal be to mandate serviceability
Yeah.
to basically make it law that the there be like a standard protocol and standard like tools or procedures for removing and replacing battery
Yep.
packs?
I think that's exactly what you do. And then you require that the manufacturer has to be able to service it for 20 years or 300,000
400,000
miles.
miles or
Yeah.
300.
Like
Yeah.
whatever that number is, that is really long, really ridiculous, but it keeps cars off of the road. I mean, how many hit 300,000 miles? Most are taken out by a wreck at some
Mm-hmm,
point in that
mm-hmm.
amount of time. But, people like me, I can run a car for 300,000
Yeah.
miles. So you get me an EV, and it would go that long because I do all the other maintenance to keep it up.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I didn't talk to this guy. I don't know. I mean, if he was trying to do it in the field, I could see his frustration. If he was trying to do it on site and he didn't have a lift and like a
oh,
service bay,
I'm sure that they shoveled these things into a field and then they
said, okay,
said, yeah, here's your 10 millimeter wrench, go and remove the batteries. I'm sure those were the conditions. But he was saying that they're like you said, they're integral parts of the vehicle.
hmm,
So, like getting them out, he was like, at the end, they just started like cutting, like
well, I
just
imagine
mass
at some point
destruction.
they just cut the car around the battery
Yeah.
and just, yeah.
And
No,
destroy the vehicle. Like they started trying, it sounded like they started one way and they ended with an excavator,
well, I mean,
basically.
regardless, they were totaled anyway.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
guess they probably said at some point, my guess is they probably started saying, okay, do it this way. And the field tech said, if you want us to get this done, we can't do it this
Yeah.
way. They said, F it, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah. They had, I'm sure they had X amount of time to do the job. And the job was supposed to be done this way, but eventually you couldn't just because of, and there's other things will have
Hmm.
been melted together and all this other stuff. But he was just overall disappointed in the serviceability of these battery packs.
No,
And what
can't
you
blame
say
them.
seems to align a little bit with that of they're not really with the structural battery packs. They're not really
Hmm.
designed. It's just like with phones. They glue. It used to be
Hmm.
phones back in my day.
Hmm.
You could service
You
the
just
phone
do it
essentially.
yourself or even
Yeah,
popped out and you just
yeah. And so I
kept
had
turning
like
it
a
on. Yeah.
10,000 milliamp battery on one of my cell phones when I needed it to work when I was traveling a lot, doing a lot of car shows and things. I had
Hmm.
this giant battery pack that was like twice as big as my phone. It was fantastic, and I had two of those batteries. And
Hmm.
the
You
thing
just
looked
swap them
like
out. Yeah.
it looked like one of those what is it? The Airbus, whatever it is, the one that's got the top, the airplane that's got the weird
Oh,
top. You remember, you know that one that I think it like
beluga.
pops up and yeah, it like transports stuff, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
anyway. All right, enough about my stuff.
So I, and I know I've seen pictures of this, but I'd never seen one in person until the other day. I saw my first non-Tesla in the wild with an Export.
Did you just about fall on the floor or what went on there?
No, I was kind of like, ooh, look at that. So I happened to be supercharging, and next to me was a Kia EV9 with an NACS port.
I'm beginning to see those EV9s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
seen
well, but
two or three of them now.
I think originally they shipped with the CCS.
Did
So
they? That
I'm
that
guessing this is a newer model. I don't know if it was 25 or 26 they switched, but yeah.
no, they're gonna have it. So I'm being the young uh Gen Alpha. I don't know what the young generation is.
There's kids today.
Being young and hip and with it. I was on the TikTok. I think it was TikTok. Whatever. I was on one of the social things, and Rivian had a video of the.
Mhm.
It was funny because it was just like a person going da 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 whatever, and the charge door like popped open and did the cool thing that
Wow.
Rivians do, where they twist up, and it was an NACS port on there.
You're
So
like,
it's
oh.
it's a huge deal. I'm
Yeah.
curious if the average person knows anything about this. Like when you
Only
go in to
from
buy
the
a car, do you have
standpoint,
any idea?
my guess is only from the standpoint of if they buy one, assuming the dealers even offer this, say, oh, by the way, you need this adapter. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Or I would say the more informed buyers are probably doing the research. They're saying, oh, I'm going to hold out for EV6, EV9, Ionic, 2025 or newer Ionic 5, the cars that come with that have the NACS native. Um, but yeah, or I remember a few years ago I saw, I think like right after the Lyric was introduced, I can't even remember if that was 22 or 23 or whatever. And they tried to pull into a supercharger station, and then they were like, "What? Like this doesn't fit," you know. So I'm sure there've been a lot of people that said, "Oh, I can use the Tesla station." They had no idea about the different plug-in port types, and were like, "Oh
Yeah.
man,
That's what I kind of wonder is the people that are hearing, oh, like you've got an EV, you're not really big into
Hmm.
any of these plugs or anything. And
Hmm.
then you
Hmm.
hear, oh, now everything can use superchargers. How many
Hmm.
of them went up and were like trying to charge their old car at a
Or not so old
supercharger?
car in that. I
Yeah.
mean,
Or
the
it could be,
transition to NACS is just starting.
yeah. So old in quotes that they thought, oh, well, now it'll just work.
Yeah.
And then they show up and they're like,
Wah,
doink,
wah. Yeah.
doink. Go in.
So speaking of another vehicle coming out with an NACS port, so this is one GM gave a not so mercy killing to, much to the chagrin of many of its fans. And even more ironic at the time, I don't know if you remember this, this was actually one of the brand's best selling models at the time they killed it.
Yeah, it was a really weird,
It's like,
it was
what are you
strange. Yeah.
doing? Anyway, the Bolt is coming back.
It's back, baby.
It's back, baby, almost. So GM shared a few spy shots of it. They've done like a front quarter, rear quarter, and then a close up of the charge port. So I think it's going to be a 2027 model. They're going to start production late 2025. So I'm guessing it'll be in dealerships maybe Q1, Q2, 26. So we don't know a lot. They didn't release any specs on it, other than we know it's going to have an NACS port. Big woo. That's like, so is everyone else.
Yeah, it's de facto. It's of course it should have an NACS port.
The speculation is it's probably going to have an LFP pack to keep the cost down. And the speculation is now, okay, so there's somewhat a little bit of conflicting info on this. So originally they said, you know how they have the Bolt and the EUV? They said initially there's just going to be one model. But
The way it should have been when they introduced the EUV.
yeah, but then I can't remember if it was Mark Royce or Mary Barr or somebody said, "Oh, we're going to have a family of Bolts. We're going to have like 3 or 4 different ones." So whatever that's going to look like. Anyway, long story short, entry level, affordable-ish Chevy EV is coming back. Right now, I think the cheapest EV you can get from GM, I want to say, is the Equinox EV.
Yeah, at least it is
And
supposed to be.
that's, I can't even remember what the sticker on that is. I want to say like high 30s, low 40s.
Sure.
So
Sounds right.
we're guessing
This will step in right underneath that. This will be
just a little below that. Yeah. So anyway, cool.
Yeah, the Bolt has the potential to be Chevy's Prius in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was on its way there before they decided. "Meh."
Yeah, it could be a huge seller, have all this like kind of fans of the vehicle, kind of
Mhm.
get its little following, whatever, be affordable. It's the kind of thing you can easily get. You could buy them used. You can cruise around in the things. There's just
Mhm.
they're not exciting, but they're a
Mhm.
smart choice for many
Mhm.
people. That
Practical.
yeah, and then they went and killed it,
Yeah.
and so it just
Well, because I mean, and I'm not going to pick too much on GM about this because this is kind of the whole industry. Is the industry wants to go after higher margin, higher profit models. So they're kind of by and large kind of abandoning the entry level segment. And my guess is the Bolt is probably going to be, apart from any kind of tax credit or incentives or anything, which are by and large disappeared. My guess is going to start in the low 30s. So I guess that's a de facto like entry level model now.
yeah.
So, but nobody wants to play in that segment anymore because there's no profit there. So
No, but it gets people in the door. I don't know how car sales work, so I'm gonna now talk about it. uh, I'm gonna guess based on ads that I see, whatever you advertise, get this car for whatever deal is that gets people in the door. And
mhm.
then they come in, so in this case, say a Bolt for 35,000. And then they come in and they're like,
Microprint one at this price.
yeah, there's one of that price, but it's parked next to
Yeah.
a Blazer EV or the Equinox
Hmm.
or whatever. That's just a little step up. And then you go,
Hmm.
you could get this for 35 or for like 43, you could step up to this Equinox.
And look at
And
all the
now
stuff it
look at
has.
this, and you just step them over there, and all of a sudden you made like $7,000 to $8,000 on a vehicle that probably
Uh-huh.
costs about the same to produce. So
Well, give or
give or
take, yeah,
take,
yeah,
it's not going to be like you said. They go for the higher end. There's more profit there. That's why they're going for the higher end. So the more
yeah,
expensive something gets, the more profit that they make on it. So it may cost an extra 8,000 to the person, the purchaser, but it
yeah,
may only cost. And once again, I know nothing about car sales, so
yeah.
here I am talking
2,000 per
about it
van.
like an expert.
Yeah,
But say it costs the company, yeah, say it costs General Motors $2,000, and they sell it to you for $8,000 more than the other model.
yeah.
So it gets you in the door. And if you like, if like, I'm not going to go to a Lucid dealership and look at a car because I know that I can't afford a 70 or $80,000 for a car.
Yeah.
Nothing gets me in there. But if they had a $50,000 car and then a $60,000 car and
Yeah.
then a $70,000 car, you may go in looking at the 50,000 and
Mhm.
then go, oh, but 10,000 more, and you finance this over 5, 6, 7 years, whatever they now
It's
finance
only
cars for.
60 more a month or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
that it's now reasonable. This is how I ended up spending over $100,000 more than I intended to on a house. This is exactly. I went looking at these one houses, and on my way there, I looked at this other neighborhood that I drove through and went, when you break
That's
this
a
down over
lot
30
nicer
years,
neighborhood.
it's a lot nicer neighborhood, a lot bigger of a house, a lot better of a construction. And really, it's only like an extra $400 a month. And you end up spending another $100,000.
Yeah.
The crazy people in California like me.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
speaking
So we're
of
for the Bolt.
we're for
Yay.
the Bolt.
Yeah.
So more Chevy news.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I guess prior to this, the range record for a production EV was Lucid, that which went 749 miles. Not bad.
Yeah.
So Chevy was like, hold my
Was that the
beer.
one where they didn't say how fast it went? They didn't say.
Possibly,
Yeah,
yeah.
there was one of them where they didn't say because people have been doing the 70-mile-an-hour range test with these Lucids and getting
Uh,
500 miles or whatever it
Pretty
was
good.
out of
Yeah.
them. And we knew that that was about 70 miles an hour.
Hmm.
And then there was that one, and we were like, well, what speed? Well, they didn't really say. Carry
Yeah.
on.
Okay. So Chevy was like, hold my beer. But they didn't do it in an Equinox or a Blazer. They did it in a Silverado EV, which is one big mamma jamma. Have you ever seen one of those? This
Yeah.
is not a small or lightweight vehicle, but it has a massive battery pack.
Yep.
So um, now this again, there's a lot of asterisks to this. They didn't run the AC, which sounds pretty miserable to me.
Did you say how many miles? Did I get distracted?
One, I think it came. The total was 1,059 miles.
On
So
one charge.
on single charge.
So how'd they get there?
First of all, average speed of 20 to 25 miles an hour.
And they did this over the course of a week.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I
This
didn't
wasn't
read
even
that. I
like,
thought this was like a marathon. Like,
no, it was like over the course of a week.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
all
It
right,
was like 7 days to get to do this.
all right. Well, that's somewhat tolerable. If this was a bonsai, like coast to coast run,
No,
like no
at
back
20,
brakes,
at
I'd be
20 to
like,
25 miles an hour.
oh man, that is rough. I would be like, no thanks. But
Yeah.
oh, good. That makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, no AC, average speed 20, 25 miles an hour. No aggressive acceleration or hard braking. Tires were inflated to their maximum of 80 psi, presumably to reduce rolling resistance.
Mm-hmm. Which,
And
for anybody who's like, that's crazy, this will just be E-range tires. E-range tires, 80 psi cold. That's what you run them.
yeah, yeah.
For
So
maximum,
be,
for maximum load carrying capacity, but also the least amount of rolling resistance.
I mean, I guess that type of tire is not uncommon on like 3/4 1-ton trucks.
Yeah. No, it's
They're
standard.
usually
Yeah.
higher psi.
Yeah. You on a 3/4 ton, 1 ton, you're getting E-range tires. Like,
Yeah.
that's all
And
there
I
is.
think
And
the
these
typical
way more.
PSI for that are like what, 60, 65, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And these EV trucks weigh more than your average, like 250, F250.
Oh yeah, this
or
one was
350.
probably pushing 9,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So they run these E-range tires. So 80 is not a crazy pressure amount.
no. So they got it to 1,000, but the engineer said, okay, after 1,000 miles, we're turning on the AC because they kind of hit their bogey and they're like, okay, we've proved what we want to prove. So
Yeah. Yeah. Good for them.
anyway,
They had a little bit of comfort for the last 59 miles,
so
which would have been over an hour.
yes. So to paraphrase Jurassic Park, I believe was the movie. Um, your engineers were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah, I have said that in the past with variety of things, there is an optimal efficiency speed for like
Hmm.
any vehicle
Hmm.
where you're going to get the best miles per gallon or the furthest range in an EV. There is a perfect, given the elevation and the wind and the temperature, there is a perfect speed that is most
Hmm.
efficient. And obviously, what this has said is that it is somewhere between 20 and 25 miles an hour for the Silverado. That is your optimal EV speed.
Yeah. No
Which
one's
for gas
actually going to
powered
drive it like
vehicles,
this. Yeah.
it's like, I don't know what the number actually is, but it'll be somewhere between 40 and 50 miles an hour, probably.
Yeah.
So it's wind resistance is kind of an load is kind
Hmm.
of the nemesis of an
Hmm.
EV.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
this pretty much illustrates what I've been saying with it. This is just me guessing in the past, and this
Hmm.
like pretty much
Yeah. Corroborates.
collaborates, whatever it is.
Stop, collaborate, and
But
listen.
yes,
No, I mean, cool for them. Very few people are actually going to drive it like this. Um, but even I want to say even like TFL truck towed with one of these, and they were even they were surprised by the range with a pretty substantial load on it. I think they said they got over. I don't think it was the I grade, but I think they said they got over 200 miles
oh yeah,
out of it.
I can believe that
Um,
because they're over 400 miles, and you generally cut rule of thumb, towing with an EV, cut
cut
your
it in
range in
half.
half. Just
Yeah.
cut it in half. And with trucks, you tend to get 1 mile per kilowatt hour.
Hmm.
That seems to be about your average,
Consumption.
not
Yeah.
going up, 9% grade and
Yeah.
whatever. But that seems to be about where you are. And so the Silverado EV, if I were to buy an EV truck right now to do the truck things that I use a truck for,
Hmm.
Silverado EV. It's
Hmm.
the only thing on the market
Yeah.
that I would buy. I mean, I'd probably cross shop to the Lightning,
Hmm.
but I get the Silverado EV
Yeah.
because
For
of
capability. Yeah.
the brute forcing
Hmm.
of distance with the battery pack. And
Hmm.
yeah, it weighs 9,000 pounds. And yeah, the thing's a behemoth. But so's my F-250.
Yeah.
It,
Like what
I
else is new?
yeah,
Yeah.
it has accomplished what it needs to do. And like you said, why did they do this? I would have been more interested in them taking that time and optimizing towing efficiency, dialing it in somehow, or coming up with a tow package that is an aero improvement where
Hmm.
you could buy a bolt-on new like lower valance or something.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't know, just if you're going
Yeah.
to go and drive around for 1,000 miles at 20 miles an hour, I'm sure that that time could have been used to design something that could get you from 1 mile per kilowatt hour to 1.2 miles per kilowatt hour.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is kind of impressive. I would have been more impressed if they would have done a towing test, um, and driving normal speeds with the AC on, going from, a campsite to a campsite or a beach to a campsite or whatever, in a fairly remote area of the country, proving that it could be done.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the prejudice against EV trucks specifically is, and not completely unfounded, are people say, well, you can't do what my Super Duty diesel does, and I can go 800 miles on a tank and this and that. It says, okay, obviously, Silverado EV can't do that, but it can go far enough in most cases that it'll do what you need it to do and it'll get you to your next charging stop.
So Chevy, what
So
you
anyway,
what
all
you
right,
need to do for your next one of these, there's 63 national parks. Hitch up a trailer
there you
and
go.
do like 63 national parks in 90 days or whatever it is.
Hmm.
60 days. Try to do it in 63 national parks in 63 days. Something crazy.
Hmm.
And just show that yeah, you can. You're not going to do that, much like you're not going to drive 1,000 miles at 25 miles an hour. You're not
Hmm.
gonna hit all 63
Hmm.
national parks in 63 days, but you could. and
Uh-huh.
then show how you did it. That, oh, you
Hmm.
averaged, 53 miles an hour in order to make this
Hmm.
because this is your calculations. I don't
Hmm.
know. I
Stop at
guess this,
Bucky's. Yeah.
yeah, I guess this got headlines when we're talking about it, and I'm sure every podcast will talk about it, and every
Yeah.
blog will do an article on it. But this is good step one.
Yeah.
Step two, 63 and 63.
There
Boom.
we go.
Done. I already named it for you. Marketing, hat, all that stuff.
So this has not quite been in the headlines quite as much, but a little bit, I guess, in automotive circles. So, guess who just announced their retirement?
Are you retiring? Oh
No,
my God.
I wish. Uh, Jaguar Land Rover CEO, Adrian Mardell. So, of course, the people that are not fans of the Type 00 restyling said, "Oh, it's because they're woke, they're stupid looking EV, blah 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 blah." He had been at the company for 35 years, so I would say, by most measures, that's a pretty long career somewhere. So, he's probably like, "I've done my time."
According to this, yeah, he was there for 35 years, but he took the CEO position 2 years ago. So,
And and I will add, he is credited with turning around Land Rover because Land Rover was going through a rough spot too, and I guess he managed to kind of improve their balance sheet and improve global sales. Now Jag was a different story. Jaguar was has been struggling for a while, but he managed to get Land Rover in a pretty healthy position. But a lot of them are saying, "Oh, he's just washing his hands of this whole Jaguar debacle and walking off into the sunset." So I don't know.
Jag's a hard nut to crack. It's been on a decline for a while.
I'd say for the better part of a decade, really,
So it's
honestly.
really turning around a brand that nobody thinks twice about.
Yeah, not anymore.
And I don't know if too many people, at least in America, care about its heritage.
Well, except for the old timey, tweed cap guys. But
Yeah,
you know,
it really, they've not had anything special for a long time. I mean, I would buy a 90s Jag. Like,
yeah,
I think those are awesome, but they're also pieces of crap. So they just look cool. And it's nostalgia that
yeah.
would make me buy it.
And
But
what's their sports car? The E Type.
yeah,
I mean, that's pretty cool. And a lot of guys like them because they're loud and boisterous, and they have the off throttle like pop exhaust pop and stuff.
yeah. And
But
this kind of keeps the new design they came up with kind of keeps that like
mhm.
silhouette kind of look to that. It just, it was like a step too far. They didn't know what they're doing. I don't know. Weren't they also the ones that were going to turn the dealerships into like a playground? They Do you not remember that? Like 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were going to turn their dealerships into non-dealerships and make it a congregation place, which other people have also talked about. So they've largely been guessing. I think they're in
Yeah.
a death spiral. They know it, and they're throwing things out. And it's like, well, if it works, it works, and if it doesn't,
Oh well.
oh well. Yeah, I mean, the CEO's not. I'm sure he's not going to hurt from this.
No, no, he'll be fine. And remember, they're part of Tata now, which is a multi-billion-dollar, you know,
Yeah.
huge corporation. So, um, yeah, what's the saying? Correlation isn't causation. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I hope Jag makes it, but they're in a very tenuous position right now. And uh, bold strategy, Cotton, with the Type 00, because uh, it looks like from the spy shots I've seen, the production model isn't going to be quite as edgy. But it's still going to kind of have that look. So it just depends on how that's going to resonate with their target market. So I
So it
don't know.
was 2020.
Okay,
I wrote an article for the What Car. EVs are fundamentally changing Jaguar's dealership or Jaguars dealerships.
just don't say Jaguar. That's
Yeah,
my
I'm
pet
not
peeve.
I'm not American. Changing Jaguar's dealership philosophy. And I wrote this in February 21st, 2020, right before the pandemic.
Imagine that.
New business model, something, something, something. Oh, that was why I was thinking Hot Wheels, because their video showing it was like this Hot Wheels track that went around a Jag that was being clay designed, whatever. Yeah, so like
Wandering in the wilderness for a while.
yeah, and that's just in the last 5 years. And like you said, they've probably been going for much longer than that, for more than a decade. So you want to talk a little bit about Tesla, and I don't really have
And
any
you
interest in
don't,
this.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Um,
So go.
anyway,
I'll go get some water.
all
You
so all the headlines lately have been, oh, Tesla's, circling the drain, going down the toilet, getting beat by the Chinese, blah blah blah. Well, they may not have the stratospheric growth they've been having over the last few years. However, in absolute terms, they are not going anywhere. So the Model Y is still the best-selling EV in Europe by a pretty significant margin. I want to say almost 2 to 1 if you look at the sales charts. I'm trying to remember what the second best-selling one. I think in Europe it might be Model Y, Model 3, and then ID4, or maybe ID4 is above the Model 3. I can't remember, but Model Y is way out ahead in terms of overall sales. Now, in terms of market share, there's more and more competitors on the market, so the pie is getting sliced thinner and thinner. But in terms of a single model, it's still got pretty healthy market share. And bringing it back stateside, do you remember when I used to make the joke about the Model 3 being the California Camry?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I guess in the first half of 2025, the Model 3 actually outsold the Camry in California.
So it truly is.
It truly is the California Camry. So, all I'm saying is don't always listen to the noise, really kind of drill down and look at the facts of things. Call me a Tesla apologist if you want, but the little note I put in our show notes is the reports of my death are greatly exaggerated. So
When you're
they're going to
number
be around
one,
for a while.
when you're
Yeah.
number one, you can fall quite a bit and still be number one. And that's kind of, I think, what's happened.
Yeah.
Is it depends on how you want to look at it. I think that there's a good, a believable argument on either side
Mm-hmm.
right now.
And this is something Musk even alluded to several years ago. He says there's going to be more competitors. Our absolute market share will shrink, just by virtue of there being more competitors. But he said, we're still good. We'll still be in the game. And honestly, if he hadn't have made such a scene with all of his antics and his outrages, I mean, they might arguably would be in a lot better shape. Both.
Can you imagine if,
Oh.
and I wouldn't have advised him to do this at the beginning, but it paid off well, was he went and backed Trump. And then Trump got elected, and the Tesla stock soared.
Mm-hmm.
It was huge. And then he went completely nuts, and it just tanked.
Mm-hmm.
And like everything that they gained, they lost. I never would have advised him to back any political party. Play the field, back
Stay
them
out of
both, and stay out of it, and play it safe. That's what I would have advised. But he didn't. But
He's never one to play it safe.
when Trump got in, imagine, because that was when stock went
Mhm.
to like 400, 450, whatever a share, whatever it was. It was like unbelievable. It was like the same kind of trajectory as when the pandemic started and Tesla like, whoa, just, nutso.
Mhm.
If he would have stopped there and not gotten involved with Doge and started doing the Nazi salutes and done all of that, if he would have stopped just at the election, imagine if that would have then not, you wouldn't have had the crash afterward. You would have had a correction, but you wouldn't have had the crash. How much further ahead the company would be.
Mhm.
So to celebrate his horrible decision making, and instead of going, you go to Vegas and you gamble and you're up, $5,000, and instead of walking away,
Mhm.
you play it all and you lose it all, which is what he did. To celebrate that, the board has now paid him 26, is it 26? 29 billion to celebrate this absolutely bumbling move with nothing but self-inflicted wounds.
So let's unpack this a little more. So you might remember a few years ago, this actually dates back to 2018. So they were originally going to give him a pay package of 50 billion. And I guess a Delaware court struck it down saying, and I can't remember exactly why, but it was something.
Some investors, shareholders sued,
Yeah.
and they said that it was fiscally irresponsible of the
Yeah.
board to do this, that they could not do this. And they took it to the court in Delaware, which is where Tesla was incorporated. And the Delaware court said, yes, this is not responsible, that there were, there's enough evidence that the board acted inappropriately in order to hand this money over to him. And so they put the kibosh on it, and they stopped that, and then they've been fighting it ever since.
Okay, so this is an alternative package, and now I guess now they're officially incorporated in Texas.
Yeah,
Evidently.
so since then
But-
he got his undies in a bunch and reincorporated the company in Texas, even though it took like 2 votes or something to do it. And he had to take it to the shareholders. Oh no, I think it took 1. Oh, why do I want to say it took 2?
I don't
But I think it passed the first time. I don't know. There was
So-
some weirdness with it.
So it's a little slightly less than the original, and also too. So that original $50 billion case is, I guess, still in the appeal process.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess with this new deal is if somehow that original case gets overturned and they okay his original pay package, this alternate one goes away. So this is in lieu of the original one.
So if the other one then
Assuming
comes through, he really only gets $20 billion extra.
No. He gets
No, I mean,
the
he gets
original.
his 29, but then they just tack another 20 on top of it.
Or I
essentially.
guess.
He ends up at 50 billion.
Yeah.
Because why not celebrate the richest man in the world with more
Doing
billions?
stupid things.
Yeah. What?
Anyway, I don't know. I mean, these figures are so like astronomical. I'm like,
I would
can't even
be,
really relate to it.
I would definitely be for this if he weren't so harmful to the company.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It is successful despite him, not because of him. It was successful because of him early on. Now it is despite him, it is doing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't understand why you would celebrate that, other than the board is constructed of family and friends.
Anyway, moving on. So now let's talk about Mercedes.
All right.
So you seemed really interested in this one when
You
I
put this in
it
the
on
show
there.
notes. Link in the show notes for everything we talk about. You wrote down Mercedes-Benz shows off new heritage-inspired grille for next-gen EVs. And I went, what? This is dumb.
And you
Click the
looked at
link.
it and you're
It
like,
was
"Huh."
like, God, I really like that grill. So it's like a more traditional Mercedes grill. It's kind of got, I don't know, you could be cynical and say it looks like a Dodge grill in some ways. But it's got a big, stupid Mercedes logo in the middle, like, all car manufacturers are now putting larger and larger logos on. This has got this giant logo. And it's all like LEDs in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get a non-LED package, I guess, but I don't know. I like it. I think they kind of, by going to EVs, manufacturers decided we're going to make a weird looking car.
Mm-hmm.
And across the board, they all made weird looking cars.
Mm-hmm.
I just want a car. Give me your car. And I think this is kind of a step back in that direction. Okay, we don't need a grill, but we're used to grills.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercedes, BMW, there's a couple car companies where the grill has been its defining element
stylistic
for
thing.
100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went and said, oh, we're just going to round the end. And we're just going to do something goofy looking, whatever.
Yeah.
No, this is your signature. This is what you're known for. You are known for your grill.
Yeah.
Lean into that. If you're not known for your grill, great. Hyundai's not really known for their grills, so they came up with all these different design elements and stuff like that. Tesla's not known for its grill, so they've kind of changed the nose here and there. But Mercedes is, BMW is. Imagine
Mhm.
BMW gets rid of its kidney grill. Like what?
No, they've just made it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes, they do, but they're retaining the thing they're known for.
Yeah.
Instead of imagine that they just get rid of it. Even on
Well,
like they came out with the Z8, it was a
hmm
completely radical design, and it still had a kidney grill.
hmm
Like it's just kind of what they're known for.
well,
So I
and
looked
that
at
was
this and I
still
said, "Thank
loosely
goodness."
based on the 507, which was a very classic
Yeah.
model they had back in the day.
Yep.
So people got warm fuzzies off that. So I'm not mad about this. In fact, this kind of makes me wonder because the EQS was kind of jelly bean shaped, and I don't think it's ugly, but it was kind of yeah. And it didn't sell very well. So they're like, and they even for a while had this weird kind of hybrid grill on the EQS where it was still jelly bean shaped, but they put the little hood ornament on it. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that looked almost goofier. It's like, why?
Yeah.
So anyway, um, but I wonder if they went back to the wind tunnel and they told the aerodynamic engineers saying, make it boxier looking, but not actually less aerodynamic. And what's interesting is a lot of cars you would look at and say, oh man, that must be like pushing a brick, you know, through a wind tunnel. And they actually have a pretty decent coefficient of drag. And others that look very sleek are actually not that
Mm-hmm.
aerodynamic. So I'm wondering if this is kind of like a visual kind of sleight of hand where it looks very, boxy and imposing, but they somehow managed to make it fairly sleek. I don't know. But
So
anyway, good for them.
one of the things, and I just looked it up, and I'm not 100% sure that it was this car, but it was something like this, that the FD RX-7 is the one that I was thinking of, that looks super sleek.
Was that the last gen before they went to the RX-8?
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks super sleek, but
Oh
its
yeah.
coefficient
hmm
of drag is not as good as you would think.
hmm
It looks aerodynamic.
hmm
And it is aerodynamic, but is not as aerodynamic as you might think.
hmm
And then you can look at other vehicles, like
hmm
basically all the EVs now. What is
hmm
the Ionic 5 coefficient of drag? Let me look
So
this
Ionic
up.
5 is not particularly great,
No,
if I
but
remember.
here's the point. The coefficient of drag on an FD RX-7, according to random internet site, is 0.31. Super sleek, two-door sports
Yeah.
car, rounded
And in the
edges.
day, that was considered pretty good.
Yeah. Ionic 5, boxy hatchback,
hmm
0.288.
Yeah. All right.
There's a lot that goes on with cars, and I think a lot of
Yeah.
this comes from underbody cladding and things like that,
hmm
that you
hmm
can do a flat bottom, and you get into stuff like that. I raced a Honda Civic for a while, uh, eighth gen was it? I don't know,
hmm
mid 20 teens.
hmm
And that one had all underbody cladding, and you get that out at Daytona, and it was slippery as grease,
hmm
and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's more than meets the eye to
Yeah.
paraphrase the '80s term,
Yep. Yep.
Gen X nostalgia.
Yeah.
Anyway, so remember when how the Macan was going all EV supposedly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's no longer the case. I guess
No?
they're kind of revisiting their strategy on that. So they may keep ice going in that, but there is going to be a little bit of a kind of a interim period where I guess it is the Macan will be all EV, but supposedly a new one is coming. I think in 2028. Um, so it's going to be the same size class, same kind of model with either ICE or hybrid. Um, so I don't know if that's because of Trump's policies or just not selling as well as they thought,
I think generally hasn't EV sales just kind of
tapered off a little. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I think
especially.
they looked at the hockey stick
Mhm,
trajectory and were like, this is the future. We're going there. And all the nations
mhm,
and everybody jumped on board. There was going to be a correction. I think
So
this
we're
is
kind
part
of
of
in
it.
that correction
Yeah.
phase. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people were too optimistic.
Yeah. I wonder, who I think was maybe a little too optimistic um, was Rivian and thinking that they could just set up shop everywhere because they are suing um, this. I don't know if it's the state of Ohio or the franchise dealer group in Ohio, but they're claiming that Tesla got unfair positive treatment, and that Tesla was given an exemption to set up 3 brick and mortar dealerships in or stores in Ohio, but Rivian and brands coming afterward have been subsequently locked out. So they're crying foul on that. And in fact, went so far as to call it irrational in the extreme.
So I shouldn't start a sentence with so. I'm trying to stop doing that. You know? Anyway, I digress. Laws are very easily written badly.
Yes.
And I don't know anything about this, but I can see people going and writing a law that says, okay, Tesla can come in and do this, and making it so narrow,
Mm-hmm.
even accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not the intention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the case here, but I could totally see, because my trust in lawmakers for writing rational laws that are more inclusive and longer sighted, they don't hire like futurists that come in and say, you know, the unintended consequences of this, that, and the other. They just do whatever sounds good and, you know, get
whatever
some
lobby group opens up a big
big
and they
try to
money in front of them. Yeah.
They just need to be better about thinking about the future and doing something that is more inclusive, not in a woke way, but in a let's include everybody and give everybody an equal chance. Even Rivian.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah. Like, even if Rivian didn't exist at the time, you've just got to look beyond your own nose and see that Tesla's not going to be the only game in town for forever. This isn't the only time this is ever going to happen. It had happened, I'm sure, before Tesla, people wanting to go around the network of dealerships, and it will continue to happen, probably more and more and more so.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on this. It is somewhat curious that Rivian and Scout are kind of tangentially related, kind of behind the scenes, with the electrical architecture and VW's investment.
That hadn't even occurred to me.
But anyway, so I don't know what backroom conversations are taking place.
Was it at the last episode where we talked about that, or was it the episode before where we talked about Scout taking on dealerships? And...
But on national level,
yeah,
so that's a much bigger.
Wow. Now I'm
strategy.
Now I'm thinking somebody got a memo at Rivian, and you've now given me a whole conspiracy theory to think about.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. Do you like conspiracy theories? I know I do. One of those conspiracy theories is that the show notes are included in the podcast and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thewalkcar. Subscribe to us there, subscribe, ring the bell icon. And I did that and I don't receive notifications. So I've got to double check. If you did sign up and you don't receive the notification, sometimes something slips off and it doesn't notify you. So anyway, go to youtube.com/@thewalkcar. Man, do you think by episode 500 I'm going to know the URL of our YouTube channel? Because I don't.
We'll be as big as Joe Rogan by then. So.
We're on all the social medias, but I don't really care about that. Share stuff if you want to. That's kind of the best way that we can go. We have the walkcar.com/advertise. That's for big companies that want to advertise. And I don't really know who it is that Jag really needs our help. That's who it is. And they should contact us, and we could be the next joint CEO of the company for the next 2 weeks before it completely craters. Wouldn't that be great?
Way to sell it, Phil.
Yeah, I'm a salesman with a wonderful pitch here. Talk to you next week.
Yeah. More fun stuff.